For me, freedom is I can take my laptop, go anywhere in the world and still get paid without having to inform my employer, without having to go to an office in a country, without taking time of leave. You have to be super disciplined if you're a freelance worker as well, because it's very different from being employed. If you're employed, you have your set hours, somebody tells you exactly what to do. The threshold for getting fired is also a lot higher, in my opinion. So there's a lot more stability. If my clients want something and it needs to be done until tomorrow, I do it. If it's midnight, I do it. They don't understand, like, it's Sunday. Why do you have to work? And I was like, well, how I choose my lifestyle is I get more freedom on other days. But then if my client needs something, I'll be there, because I also don't want to lose that client, because the client is giving me independence and freedom, even though you can't see it at this moment. But what I don't have is a 9 to 5 that I need to follow all the time. So I may have more flexibility on other days when you're at the office. If I'm like in some part of the world, I might have to attend a midnight meeting because my client is in the US and I'm in Australia. It was like that recently.
How do you come up with a different place to visit?
A lot of it is driven by cost and opportunity as well. Of course, sometimes I think, I would love to visit the Philippines, and then I just go if I'm nearby, right? Especially in countries where the cost is lower, it's easier to travel and spend a bit of time. And then if I want to save money, I might either stay in an Asian country, or if I go to a Western country, I do certain things to like save money on rent. Like, obviously now I'm staying with a friend, but there's other options as well, right? To like save money in that way. So it's just like a little bit driven by cost and opportunity, also by the weather a little bit. I prefer when it's warm and sunny versus when it's gray and rainy. So I kind of follow the sun a little bit as well.
Is it challenging for you to reconcile your professional life with your personal life? It looks as if you were basically on holiday every single month of the year as you're traveling. You're alone abroad. You're not with your family and you're alone abroad.
Yes. I love how you said that. It looks like I'm on holiday every day of the year, because that is what I get a lot. And that is why also my family says, when are you going to come home and like get a real job? And I was like, I do have a real job. You just don't see it. Like, I'm just like, I share different things on my social media, right? And like, that might not be one of them. You have to be super disciplined if you're a freelance worker as well, because it's very different from being employed. If you're employed, you have your set hours. Somebody tells you exactly what to do. The threshold for getting fired is also a lot higher, in my opinion. So there's a lot more stability. So I understand why people do it. It has a lot of advantages. For me, it's not something. And I find a lot of people also complain about that stability. They want the stability, but then at the same time, they complain about it. And it's the same thing with freelancing. There's good and bad parts to it. So like I said, I have to be super disciplined. Like, if my clients want something and it needs to be done until tomorrow, I do it. If it's midnight, I do it.
I guess that's one of the good things about being abroad and alone, because then it's not hard for you to spend almost an entire day working.
Yes, it can be hard though. Like if you spend time with friends, for instance, and you tell them, I have to go, like my client needs something, and they don't understand. They don't understand, like, it's Sunday. Why do you have to work? And I was like, well, how I choose my lifestyle is I get more freedom on other days. But then if my client needs something, I'll be there, because I also don't want to lose that client, because the client is giving me independence and freedom, even though you can't see it at this moment. But what I don't have is a 9 to 5 that I need to follow all the time. So I may have more flexibility on other days when you're at the office. But it's really difficult to explain it to somebody that is in a 9 to 5 and maybe doesn't have that drive to like do something for their work, because they are there so many hours already, right? So they're like, they do what they are being told. But if you're a freelancer, you basically have to go above and beyond to make sure your client is happy and they keep you on.
You mentioned freedom. What does it mean to you?
For me, I see freedom a lot in location independency. So for me, freedom is I can take my laptop, go anywhere in the world and still get paid without having to inform my employer, without having to go to an office in a country, without taking time of leave, right? Like having to put in like time of absence or anything. I can just go and basically make those decisions because I know I'm disciplined enough to like still work. And it might look like if I'm like in some part of the world, I might have to attend a midnight meeting.
Right.
Because my client is in the US and I'm in Australia. It was like that recently. So I had to sit there at midnight to like take a meeting. But I'm willing to do that in order to be able to decide where I want to be at any given time.
What are some of the cultural shocks that you've experienced in different parts of the world?
I say a lot of it comes from traveling alone as well. In certain countries, you get, I don't want to say harassed. Harassed is a really strong word, but it comes down to people following you. Because I'm blonde, I have blue eyes, right? So if I'm in a certain country, people will follow me, people will talk to me. And it can be really annoying. It can be super annoying, just like, I just want to walk here. I just want to walk to the beach. I don't really want to talk to anybody right now. But it has happened that like men would come and like walk with me. And I'm like, this is unnecessary. Like, I feel uncomfortable. Please go. And like, I'm really happy that I'm strong enough to say, leave me alone. Because I know there may not be people that are strong enough to say, leave me alone. So I think it's a really important lesson to say no and like make sure your boundaries are super clear.
Right. How many continents have you covered so far?
Continents. I've not really been to Africa, but I've been to the Americas, Europe, Australia, New Zealand is obviously one continent. What am I missing? Asia. Been to Asia a lot.
Right.
Yes, I think I counted it a few times. I think I've been to over 30 countries. It might be 35, around 35 at the moment.
What's your most memorable experience? I know it's hard to come up with something, off the top of your head, but then anything you have in there.
I get asked a lot what my favorite country is, for instance. Never like what my favorite experience is. My favorite experience, I'd say, is having lived in Australia. Australia is such a beautiful country. It's also very safe, very easy to make a lot of money. If you have a car, really easy to travel around. And like it's a great lifestyle, like having a built-out van there, because people are super acceptant of it. And also the people are extremely genuine in Australia. They will ask you, how are you? And they really want to know. They really want to know. They really care to help you. They care who you are. They care how you're doing. And if you have a problem, they just help, like out of their heart, help.
Are you close to the nature? The wildlife in Australia, this is something insane, Have you been to the zoo to like experience something unique over there in this sense?
I must say, I've lived there for nearly 4 years. I think I've seen a snake once.
Okay.
And a spider once. So I think it's not as extreme. I've seen some sharks as well, but the friendly kind. So they were in the water with me, actually. I think it's not as extreme as people make it out to be. Especially if you're in the cities, you don't even see snakes. You don't see spiders. If you're in a more regional area, sure, you may see them, but you also have to think the snakes are really terrified of you. So as long as you walk kind of loudly and make a lot of noise. So if I was on a hike by myself, I would sing. It wouldn't sound nice at all by any means, but there were no other people. So
it repels them somehow.
Exactly. The vibration on the floor and the sound scares the snake away. So you don't even see it.
Talking about snakes, you've been to New Zealand. What about this myth of no snake in New Zealand?
I've not been to New Zealand.
Okay, I thought you had mentioned it before. Okay.
No, just that like Australia and New Zealand is like one continent in my mind, right?
All right. Pretty good. So let's talk about travel hacks. Which tips can you share with us? Let's say somebody watching us who has never got started with this, who maybe would like to become a digital nomad, or just wants to travel, visit different places from the beginning of the process, choosing a place, what to do, what not to do, how to pack, and what have you.
I think rule number one, always